Good evening, everyone. This is the Mount Juliet Board of Commissioners, and we will conduct a public hearing over these 4 items. I will read the 4 items and invite you forward if you have comments to make on these to the commission. The first is the annex and plan of services for an 1.2 acres of property located at 1191 Nonneville Road, map 59, parcel 98, located within the city's urban growth boundary. The second item is an annexation and plan of services approximately 1.32 acres located at 2460 11 Dirt Road, map 73, parcel 71, located within the city's urban growth boundary. The third item is to rezone Wilson County A1 to CNS, annexation and plan of services for approximately 3.53 acres of the property located at 9127 Lebanon Road, map 54, parcel 63, 64, 65, and located within the city's urban growth boundary, as well as the land use amendment for parcel 63 located off Carrion Drive from low-density residential to neighborhood commercial. And the fourth item is to annex the land use of the property known as Silver Springs Phase 8, located at 9621 Lebanon Road, map 54, parcel 45, from low density to medium density residential. The public is invited to come forward and comment. If you have comments on any of these 4 items, I'd invite you to come forward to the podium, give your name and address for the record of those. We will end this meeting around 6:25, reconvene at 6:30 for our regular meeting, and we will have citizen comments there as well if not everyone gets the opportunity to speak. So anyone wishing to address the Board of Commissioners on these 4 items, I'd invite you forward. All right. Seeing none, we'll close the public hearing and we'll reconvene for our regular scheduled meeting at 6:30. Anyway, I call this meeting to order, the Mount Juliet Board of Commissioners, pursuant to City Code 62210. We have a quorum here, and we will proceed with the conducting of our city business. So with that, the first item on the agenda is the setting of the agenda. With that, I think we have 13C. The sponsor is wanting to pull that from this agenda. Is there any objections? Hearing no objections. Without objection, we'll adopt the agenda minus 13C. All right. The next item is our invocation and pledge of allegiance. I would recognize our city manager, Mr. Kenny Martin, if you would lead us in the invocation and pledge, please.
Everybody bow your heads with me, please. Gracious Lord, we come together with a shared purpose and ask for your presence to unite us. May peace reign in our hearts as we discuss matters before us. Help us to listen with empathy, speak with kindness, and work collaboratively towards our common goals. May your peace be the foundation of all our intentions. In Jesus Christ's name we pray. Amen. Now join me for the pledge. I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America, and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you, sir. Next item on the agenda is the approval of the minutes. We have one set of minutes from February 24, 2025. Is there a motion?
Second.
Motion second. Any questions, comments, or discussions on the minutes? Hearing none, without objection, we'll adopt the minutes as published. Next item on the agenda is our citizen comments. We'll open the floor for citizen comments. We'll allow 3 minutes per person. We just ask that you come forward, give your name and address for the record, and we'll get you recognized. Just note that the board's under no obligation to answer questions from the floor, but if necessary, we'll do our best to get somebody, a member of the staff with you linked up. We just ask that you address all your comments to the chair, which is myself. And with that, we'll open the floor. Is there anyone who would like to speak to the Board of Commissioners? All right. Seeing none, we'll close citizen comments and we'll move to commissioner comments and reports. And with that, we'll recognize Commissioner Giles for his comments. You're recognized for 5 minutes, sir.
All right. We had a chamber had a luncheon a couple weeks ago, I guess, the state of the address, and it was for the mayor, and he led that and talked about the city and what's occurred. And I just thought it was a great job that day. Mayor, you done a great job. It was great being there. It had been a few years since I had been at one. And also, there's a lot of talent in Mount Juliet. Of course, there's no musicians around. And it's a joke. And most of everybody is. Somebody's family is. And so for the last probably 4 or 5 years, I guess, I have booked a concert for 10 months a year out in Laverne. And so I try to use a lot of Mount Juliet talent and that kind of thing. And so this last Friday was our first for this year. And it was a group from Mount Juliet called Burlap and Lace. And I don't know if some of you all have seen them in some of the venues around and stuff, but they were really, really excellent. And I appreciated them coming. And then I found out that they run a dance studio called Risha's School of Dance. So some of you may have had some children or grandchildren that are either in or have gone through that. They're on Lebanon Road. And I just really appreciated them. They were fantastic. And again, I just want to say, hey, because they're in my district too. It just made it a little bit more special. They did a great job. We appreciate it. And then I also want to announce it's that time of year for Walk Across Wilson. If you'll look at the screen, and please, I think most people can do some kind of exercise and turn their minutes in to help a school, maybe your child, maybe your grandchild. I promote Friends of Mount Juliet BPAC. We have a lot of people who support us. We won the nonprofit last year, and it's one of our ways to try to get funds. And that whole thing is actually to help the city, that whole 501c3. But whichever one you choose, there's a whole list. But please go and And if you walk like 8 times during the whole 4 weeks, you get a t-shirt. Some people, elect not, they don't want another t-shirt, but it is good. You've got sponsors on it. So if you want a t-shirt, send in your minutes 8 times. It just takes going online, going on Facebook, or just going on the internet and turning your time in. And it asks which 501c3 or which school you want to give your time. So everybody walk or do something 30 minutes a day I try to do it 6 days a week. Sometimes I even do it 7, but it's for a great cause. They're sponsors. I actually sponsor, my agency sponsors this. And it's a great cause. And what it is, if you do some kind of exercise about 6 days a week for 30 minutes a day, you could walk from one end of Wilson County to the other end of Wilson County. So and the kickoff is March the 22nd down at the train station. City Manager Martin normally comes to it. And some of you, I know the chief normally comes, and chief of police, and we've got a lot of people that comes. That's a great kickoff. We walk that mile on that morning, and some of us go to Dunkin' and get donuts. Don't we, Commissioner Mullally? So, but we'd love for you to come on the kickoff. Again, it is on the 22nd at the train station at 9 a.m. And then you start listing your time, turning your time in on March the 23rd, which starts that Sunday. So please participate, tell people about it. And Mayor, that concludes my comments. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. We'll recognize Vice Mayor Trevette for his comments. Sir, you're recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you, Mayor. And thanks for everybody coming out tonight, and also the folks who are online. I'm actually going to also give you, Mayor, a shout out. Man, that was a great event. It looked like you took a lot of time, dedication to get that meeting going. And honestly, it was a great opportunity to kind of see how fast our city is growing, as well as, each department. So thank you for doing such a great job and representing our city. Actually today was the first day for Mount Juliet for spring break. So for the families that are lucky enough to be on spring break this week, please think about for safety. Obviously kids are going to be running out and about. It was beautiful today. It's supposed to be like that this whole week. So as you're going back and forth to work, coming in and out of your neighborhoods, please be careful. We have a great police force that hopefully they're out and about slowing everybody down. So that's one thing I'm all about, is safety and making sure our kids have a great time and have fun being out and about, getting away from the electronics. So also one last thing, just want to highlight, check out Mount Juliet's Parks website for all the new events that are coming up. We've got some great events that are going to be happening over the next couple months. So check them out and hope to see you all out there. So Mayor, that concludes my report. Thank you.
Thank you, sir. And with that, we'll recognize Commissioner Hefner for his comments. You're recognized for 5 minutes, sir.
Thank you, Mayor. I appreciate everybody coming out this evening. I see some familiar faces in the audience, and for those watching online. And yes, Mount Juliet has a lot of musicians in town. You'd be surprised that I probably know a couple dozen. But speaking of musicians, I can't give a shout out to the owners of the Honky Tonk Creamery, which one happens to be here. So Matt Harville, appreciate you coming out, and I believe that's your son. So great place if you haven't checked it out. Great music and great ice cream. I know the two don't sound like they go together, but he actually makes it work. So anyways, appreciate y'all coming out. Also too, want to thank everyone for coming out to the 5th anniversary of the March 3rd tornado. That anniversary obviously was last week. So appreciate everybody coming out to that. And then I want to also echo Commissioner Trevette, spring break, traveling. Please be careful as you're driving on the roadways to and from. With that, I conclude my report.
Thank you, sir. And with that, we'll recognize Commissioner Mullally. You're recognized for 5 minutes.
Thank you. I don't really have a report. I sent out an agenda notice about tonight, and I had the wrong link, so I didn't discover it until today. So apologize for that if you tried to click on it. So my husband is recovering pretty well from hip replacement. It's been 2 weeks, And so he's got a birthday coming up before the next meeting. So shout out to him for happy birthday. And that's all I have.
Thank you, ma'am, for your comments. With that, I recognize our city manager for his comments. Mr. Martin, you're recognized for 10 minutes.
Thank you, Mayor, Vice Mayor, Board Commissioners. Thanks for everybody coming out tonight. I hope everybody's enjoying this awesome, beautiful weather. Absolutely blessed with the wonderful weather we've got. And I don't know if y'all noticed or not, but Commissioner Hefner and Commissioner Giles looked right at me when they said musicians. I am known to be quite the spoons player. If you guys want to hear somebody play spoons. And so I thought that'd be funny. I don't know why I thought of that, of all things spoons. My grandmother actually played spoons and harmonica, but I have absolutely no musical talent abilities whatsoever, not even singing. And my wife is at home saying amen to that. But just want to thank everybody again for what everybody does, everybody that's here, everybody at the table, for making Mount Juliet such an awesome place. I try to get up every day and thank God for the many blessings that I've got individually and personally. And every time I come into this city and the staff, our elected body, I think sometimes that it's easy to fall into a habit of taking things for granted. We are very blessed. I've said it. I was talking to some commissioners this evening. I think myself, Commissioner Giles were talking earlier, and Commissioner Trivett, just about the blessing, how important sales tax is to our city. And, you know, you say that and say, well, it's great. It's always great for City Hall. No, it's great for everybody, because when you think of safety and kids out on bikes and playing in parks and things of that nature, and you don't get to these things easily, and we don't do it alone. It's your money that we're utilizing to make the city safe. And as a result, it's been done very well. So I want to give everybody kudos for being such good stewards, which is something that's hard to come by. It's easy to spend other people's money, but this city does a really good job, I think, of looking out for the taxpayers. So thank you. And last but not least, please, please, please shop local, participate, and patronize our local businesses. And Mayor, that concludes my report.
Thank you, sir. That will move to the business portion of our agenda. We'll start with 9. Is there any objection to reading 9A, B, and C together, all concerning the same property? All right. Hearing none, I'll read 9A, B, and C. 9A is a resolution adopting the plan of services for the property known as the 1191 Nonneville Road property located at 1191 Nonneville Road, map 50, parcel 5098 in Wilson County, Tennessee, located within the city's urban growth boundary. B is an ordinance to annex into the corporate boundaries of the city of Mount Juliet, approximately 1.202 acres for the property located at 1191 Nonneville Road, map 50, parcel 98, located within the city's urban growth boundary. 9C is a resolution in memorandum of ordinance related to the annexation of 1191 Nonneville Road, map 50, parcel 50, and 98. Have a motion.
Second.
Have a second. Any questions, comments, or discussion? All in favor of 9A, B, and C, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? They all three carry. Any objections to reading 10A, B, and C? Hearing none. 10A, which is a resolution adopting the plan of services for the property known as 2460 Old Lebanon Dirt Road, located at 2460 Old Lebanon Dirt Road, map 73, parcel 71 in Wilson County, Tennessee, located within the city's urban growth boundary. 10B is an ordinance to annex into the corporate boundaries of the city of Mount Juliet, approximately 1.32 acres, property located at 2460 Old Lebanon Dirt Road, map 73, parcel 71, located within the city's urban growth boundary. 10C is a resolution in memorandum of the ordinance related to the annexation of 2460 Old Lebanon Dirt Road, map 73, parcel 71.
Motion.
Have a motion. Motion and second. Questions or comments on 10A, B, or C? All in favor of 10A, B, and C, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Those three are adopted. 11. Any objections to hearing 11A, B, C, D, and E? Hearing none. No objections. So 11A is a resolution adopting a plan of services for the property known as the Christman Properties, located at 9127 Lebanon Road, map 54, parcel 63, 64, 65 in Wilson County, Tennessee, located within the city's urban growth boundary. 11B, an ordinance to annex into the corporate boundaries of the city of Mount Juliet, approximately 3.53 acres, located at 9127 Lebanon Road, map 54, parcel 63, 64, 65, and located within the city's urban growth boundary. 11C is a resolution in memorandum of ordinance related to the annexation of the properties located at 9127 Lebanon Road, map 54, parcels 63, 64, and 65. 11D is an ordinance to amend the land use plan for the properties located at 0 Karen Drive, map 54, parcel 63, from low-density residential to neighborhood commercial. And 11E is an ordinance to rezone the property located at 9127 Lebanon Road, which is approximately 3.53 acres, map 54, parcel 63, 64, 65, from RS40 to CNS.
Motion.
Have a motion
Second.
and a second. Any questions or comments on 11A, B, C, or D, or E? Commissioner Hefner, you're recognized, sir.
The, what is that strip of parcel between 63 and I believe it's 65? Looks like on the map,
Mr. Boffman.
you've got two parcels on Lebanon Road and then you have the one on Kieran Drive, but it appears that it's separated by something.
So it appears that was unimproved county right away that they have decided that they will abandon. And when he submits a plat, which he already has, it's coming through. It'll be the 3 lots and that strip of right away there. I believe it was called Young Drive, according to the surveyor's work on the plat. I believe all of the right of way is going to the 2 parcels to the south. I think it's Esri is the owner.
Okay.
Typically it gets divided in half and goes half and half to the adjoining property. People to the north, the plat I saw, the property owners to the north aren't getting that half. It's all going to the south. So whatever they've worked out, that land is going to the Esri.
Okay.
2 parcels there. So that's just going to be abandoned.
Okay. Yeah, I was just curious. That's all I had. Thank you.
Any other questions, comments? All in favor of 11A, B, C, and D, and E, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? The 5 carry. We'll move on to 12A, which under unfinished business, an ordinance to amend the land use plan for the property known as Silver Springs Phase 8 through 13, located at 9621 Lebanon Road, map 54, parcel 45, from low-density residential to medium-density residential. Motion? Second. Questions or comments? All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? That carries by a vote of 4-1. (13A), an ordinance to annex into the corporate boundaries of the city of Mount Juliet approximately 0.5 acres of property located at 9385 Lebanon Road, map 54D, parcel B, Group B, parcel 1, and located within the city's urban growth boundary. Motion. Is there a second? All right. Any questions or comments on 13A? All in favor, please signify by saying aye. Any opposed? 13A carries. 13B, an ordinance to annex into the corporate boundaries of the city of Mount Juliet approximately 6.6 acres, property located at 340 John Wright Road, map 76, parcel 54, located within the city's urban growth boundary. Have a motion and a second. Questions or comments on 13B? All in favor of 13B, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? 13B carries. 13C was removed in the adoption of the agenda. 13D, which is an ordinance to reinstate the ordinance 2020-11 and extend the initial vesting period for the preliminary master development plan for the district being located at 108 Story Creek Road in the city of Mount Juliet, Tennessee. Have a motion?
A second.
And a second. The item is on the table. Okay. Commissioner Mullally, floor is yours.
I would like to amend the ordinance on page 114 in the second whereas to replace it with this wording on the advice of the city attorney. It would read, whereas the applicant failed to obtain approval for the final master development plan from the City of Mount Juliet Planning Commission before the expiration of the initial 3-year vesting period set by Tennessee state law as a result of staff providing inaccurate information regarding the vesting period.
And Commissioner, that was the second whereas you're
That's the
replacing?
second whereas
All
on the
right.
ordinance on page 114.
I'll second. Is there any questions or comments on the amendment? Commissioner Hefner?
Yeah, I've got a little issue with that. This is a state law, and the onus, I feel, and maybe legally you can, our attorney can weigh in, the onus is always on the applicant, even though they get maybe incorrect advice or counsel. Isn't the onus on the applicant to know our state laws?
Yes, ma'am.
Yes, that is correct.
So I don't like the language because we're setting ourselves up for precedents here that may end up causing bigger problems down the road. That's my thoughts.
Commissioner Mullally?
The reason I wanted that added in there for the history and the reason that they didn't obtain it is because they were told by the former city attorney that it was 5 years. That he told the staff and the applicant that it was 5 years. So that's what they went on. So in order not to set a precedent, I would like that in the ordinance.
Well, I'll add, I like that in there as well for that reason, because if other items expire, I want it to be clear as to why we're doing a reconsider, so we don't have people coming back to say, you did it for one, do it for me. So that's kind of why I seconded. Commissioner Giles, what was
So
yours?
the advice that was given by former attorney, do we have that in writing, or do we have that on tape somewhere?
Ms. Hamlin?
I would say probably not, but I can tell you that's what I was told by our former counsel, which is what I advised this applicant. And I own that I told her
And
inaccurately.
I'm not,
No, I
I'm
understand.
just, legally, I'm trying to see, it's one thing to say, but if we don't have it, something
Right.
to substantiate,
Well, now we have it on recording.
well,
Well, I do own giving her inaccurate information based on the information that I was given.
Yeah, this is a unusual one. Any other questions or comments? All right. On the amendment, make sure I read this back correctly. To replace the second whereas with the language that reads, whereas the applicant failed to obtain approval for the final master development plan from the City of Mount Juliet Planning Commission before the expiration of the initial 3-year vesting period set by Tennessee state law as a result of staff providing inaccurate information regarding the vesting period. All in favor of the amendment, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? Okay, the amendment carries, so we're back on 13D as once amended. Any other questions or comments on the ordinance? All in favor of the ordinance as once amended, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? That carries on first reading by a vote of 3-2. The next item on the agenda is 13E, an ordinance to amend the fiscal year 2024-2025 budget, ordinance 2024-2025, to appropriate the funds for a professional services agreement with the Architect Workshop. Motion. Is there a second? All right. A second on this. Any questions or comments before we vote? Our city attorney has some comments.
Just
Yes,
a couple,
ma'am.
just a couple suggested minor changes.
Minor changes.
To amend the actual amount from 61,000 to 63,000. The contract calls for $2,000 in reimbursable expenses, so we should include that in the full budget amendment. And second being amending where it says police department, where it says general fund / police department, that should say city manager, not police department.
I'll make a motion then that we change the amount from 61 to 63,000 and to change the police department. This is referring to the budget it's coming from,
Correct.
to city manager, from police department to city manager. Is there a second?
Second.
All right, we have a second on that. Any questions or comments on the amendments? All right, all in favor of the amendment, please signify by. Oh, excuse me, Miss, you have the floor.
Would this take effect today well, after the second reading or after budget approval?
Well, this is an amendment to this budget.
You're right.
So I think it's 15 days from first reading.
Okay.
So theoretically, I guess it's 1 day after second reading. All right, any other questions or comments? All in favor of the amendment, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? We're on 13E as once amended. Any other questions or comments on 13E? All right. Commissioner,
On the amendment, or-
I'm sorry, on the ordinance as once amended. You have comment, Commissioner?
Yeah, on something.
Here you go.
And I left my glasses, I think, in the car. Under the notes, on the first, on number 1, it says assumption that on-site staff and blah, blah, blah. And then the end of it, it says 2 days concurrently, if I'm reading that. It's going to be, if that's to meet with us as a board, I mean, each individual, that's going to be very difficult because a lot of this board travels. And 2 of y'all probably, so there's 40% of you that really travel a lot more than the others. And then I come into that, probably the mayor and I. So, 80% of this board travels. That's going to be very difficult for us to try to do that. And I think that we need a little bit more leeway so that, you basically need to meet on our time so that we can arrange that. It's just going to be very difficult to do that. If I'm reading this right in the notes. And Sam, I had something else I asked you about and you said bring up, but again, I left my glasses. Do you remember what that was?
Any thoughts?
I do not recall unless it was related to the renderings.
Okay, yeah, the rendering, and I talked to him earlier there. I couldn't see you for the post, and I think he's going to explain a little bit about giving us something to look at, whether it's 3D or whatever. And my concern with this whole thing is that once we get the assessment, which is a professional assessment, we need to know what we need as a city. And I think each one of us can give some input on what we feel that's needed as far as the city's concerned, as far as safety is concerned. We've got our PD that can comment on that and give some information to us. But, we want to make sure that, that rendering will fit here and we can take it. Well, it's not going to do a rendering, but whatever he's going to explain, 3D or whatever, we can take that and try to get some kind of idea if we want to build it on this whole block on the back or whatever, or go over to Clemens or wherever, across the street, wherever. We just need to know after we realize what we need and to plan, in my opinion, to plan for the future for growth, because we need this so that we don't come back and have to spend another X. And we've got already, we know that we can expand on top of it down the road. So I think those are some things that we need to look at. None of us will probably be sitting up here. I don't know. So I just want some clarification. I want to make sure that we can do something with this, especially that first note there, because that's going to be very difficult for all of us. And then also, I think, and Commissioner Mullally may bring this up, if we vote on this and then we have the second reading for it, we also need to know that I feel like the assessment shouldn't start until after the budget's passed. Not because this would be in the new budget, it's going to come out of this budget, correct, Ms. Martin? But so that, our department heads have enough to think about getting the figures and the totals in for budget. We need to concentrate on that. And then this could be after the fact. So I would like to make sure that we don't have a time that, it starts afterwards. So that's just some food for thought and discussion.
All right. Any questions and comments on the budget amendment?
Would that be a motion or just a suggestion?
Well, we're gonna have to hear from the representative here is about that time on there, because we can't, I'm not gonna vote for that for 2 days concurrent.
Is that going to change the cost?
It shouldn't.
No.
I don't know. He
Right.
can answer it.
Right now, we're just on the budget amendments. So 13E, we're going to look at the service agreement. Oh, excuse me, 13F.
Okay. That may have spoke ahead of time, but I just wanted to.
Any questions or comments on the budget amendment? All right. All right. All in favor of the 13E as one submitted, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? Okay, 13E passes, and I'll read 13F, which is a resolution authorizing the mayor to sign the professional services agreement with the architect workshop for a space needs study for a proposed city hall.
Motion?
Was that a second?
Yes.
Okay. All right, 13F is on the table. And would you like the floor, Commissioner?
Do you want me to say everything I said before?
No, I mean, you sound like you had some questions for Representative.
Yeah. I think he's here and he could answer these questions for us.
Would you come to the podium, sir? Could you give us your name, address, and the company you're with, please?
James Kennan, Architect Workshop, Nashville, Tennessee. I had a meeting with a less friendlier commission at one point that I stood up and I got told to sit down. So I'm very hesitant to ever stand up until you tell me to.
Appreciate that.
So
They were just showing me their new tasers before the meeting started. So.
that's what it felt like at that meeting. You want me to answer the questions or? All right, so one was about the meetings. We just tried to set up that, we think it'll take us 2 meetings. We always understand that, like, we've got all the staff to meet and interview. We like to try to consolidate that. At the same time, we recognize commissioners have their own schedules. We recognize we may need to show up before or after a commission meeting to be able to talk to you. I anticipate maybe a little work session that we meet with you in a work session environment and let you all have input at the same time. We'll work through that and make sure that works for y'all. Render. All right, so I think about this as much as a consensus building process as anything, that we want to get everybody's input, be able to share that input back to you so you kind of hear what you all have said about your needs and help you come to a common consensus of what makes sense. We've included time to take key representatives to some surrounding city halls as case studies, because you always learn something from you going to seeing other people, how they do their business, because this actually becomes as much a conversation about how you do business as city as it does the spaces and how does that interact, how you interact with the public, how you interact with each other, how does that manifest in greater security for staff. There's all kinds of concepts I could delve into that I won't tonight. So then in the conclusion, Commissioner is correct. We'll have a spreadsheet to list all the rooms and their square footages, and people will look at it and their eyes will glaze over and they don't understand what they're looking at. And so that's why we've learned that we actually then do that spreadsheet as a graphic, and we actually show it, the spaces at same scale relative to each other. So you can kind of see, and you can kind of look and go, whoa, why does finance need so much square footage? Oh, it's because Dana, we like her. No, and you kind of see representative how that square footage represents, and does it feel right on top of everything else? You can kind of go up to 30,000, you can come down to 5,000, understand it. And then part of the diagram then becomes a conversation that represents the, what we call in architect speak, the adjacencies. Who wants to be next to who in order to do their jobs well? Who needs public access? Who doesn't need public access? And so we try to represent all that graphically by the time we're done. And we get toward the end, we may pull that all up in 3D so you can kind of see how it might stack up. But what we're really giving you is kind of the roadmap of this is what you need. This is how much square footage we need for our building. This is how much square footage we need for site and parking. Then we can go test multiple sites and see which one will fit. And then those sites will then influence actually kind of how it all finally organizes itself. And then all of that, and then once we understand Mount Juliet, what is the essence of Mount Juliet, will start to influence the outside of the building and what it looks like. The easy part is running through a rendering, but then you don't know what the inside looks like or how it works. It's kind of like, remember when you were 14 years old and you wanted a car and you could draw what a car was? And then you got to be about 18 and dad made you buy your own car. And all of a sudden your definition of what a car was changed. That's the process we're going to work through.
All right. Thank you, sir. Anyone else for questions? So you might have a question for the. Oh, thank you, sir. Mr. Mullally.
Okay, so this would come out of the current budget, right? Whether it starts after second reading or after the new budget. So I know that last year's budget, this current budget, when it was approved last year, we sent it back 3 different times to cut operations. It was a very, very tight budget. So my concern is taking it out of this budget because it's been very tight. And also, do we still have a hiring freeze?
Yes, ma'am, unless it's for a position where someone leaves and we're backfilling that existing position. But for new positions, yes, ma'am.
Okay. Well, I just bring it up because if that's coming out of the current general fund, and we still have budget problems, issues, then should we budget it for the new cycle, or do we actually have the money for this cycle?
Commissioner, right now, we're just on the resolution. to
Right.
Adopt the resolution.
Yeah, I'm just looking ahead.
Yeah, it's, I hate to say it'd be same difference, you know, we'll know a lot more when the budget's done or when we get deep into budgets about sales tax and projections, costs, expenses on the year. So it's hard to say, if you kicked it over to next year's budget, does it give us more time to wait until it actually passes in the budget to do all, but we wouldn't be able to start the work before then. I think the gist of what I'm getting from the commission is that you want to start doing some of these meetings and all after we've done all the budget work and it went before the commission, even before it goes to first reading. So everybody can focus on presenting their budgets for in-house and then start this process. I think that's what I understood it. So in other words, the 60,000, whether it be in this year or next year, could just come from cash reserves. I don't know if Dana's not in here, but I hope that makes sense. Whether or not you budget it for now or you budget it for next year. The impression I got from the commission, they didn't want to start the real legwork until after we get all the initial budget work and get the books presented to you all for review for next year. So they didn't get inundated with these meetings. They could focus on the budget. I think that's the way that I understood it. So it's really up to the commission if you want us to start sooner. If you want us to wait until after July, once the budget passes, then we can put it in next year's budget.
Okay.
All right. All in favor of 13F, please signify by saying aye.
Aye.
Any opposed? 13F is adopted. Next item is 13G, a resolution approving the agreement between the City of Mount Juliet, Tennessee and the Bowen Engineering Corporation for the construction of an equalization basin and pump station located on Old Lebanon Dirt Road, and authorize the mayor to sign the agreement.
Motion.
Have a motion? Have a motion and a second. Any questions or comments on 13G? All right. All in favor of 13G, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? 13G is adopted. Final item is an appointment to the Alcohol Beverage Board appointment. This is, I think the way this works is I make an appointment. I submit a name and it's voted on by the Board of Commissioners. Is that correct? I'm getting a nod. Correct. This has actually been a kind of easy one to find when you get somebody here to volunteer for it. And so the name I'm putting forward is Mr. Preston George, has volunteered to serve on this. So with that, I'll ask for a vote of the board to confirm the appointment. All right, we have a motion. All right. All in favor of Mr. Preston George, please signify by saying aye. Aye. Any opposed? And with that, he is appointed. Our next item is the adjournment. And without objection, we will be adjourned. Hearing none, we're adjourned.